Joanne-kun! Joanne-kun! Hey guys, this is MPig, and I'm taking a few minutes out from my busy Street Fighter 4 schedule to do a Q&A. So good for you guys that I'm so thoughtful and think of my subscribers so much. Budogenkai 1 asks, what is your favorite soda? Now this is a really tough one for me because, well, they're all pretty much my favorite. I'm one of those huge sorts of soda addicts that I will go into the fridge, start just drinking everything that I see in sight. I love Coke. I don't like Pepsi as much as I like Coke, but I still love Pepsi. I love Mountain Dew. I love Sierra Mist. I love Sprite. I love root beer. It's very hard to narrow it down to one thing. If I had to choose probably what would be my favorite soda, most likely Mountain Dew or Cactus Cooler. Mostly because I don't drink very much Cactus Cooler. For some reason, we have everything else in the fridge except for Cactus Cooler, which confuses me somewhat because Cactus Cooler is so utterly badass in its own way that why wouldn't we have it there? Why is it shunned to the side like some kind of horrible bastard child of soda? Nobody ever mentions Cactus Cooler, even though it's pretty godly in and of itself. Most likely Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew Code Red, even though I haven't really seen that being sold in very many places anymore, which is such a shame. You just see like Mountain Dew and whatever new crappy variety of Mountain Dew that they have. But no Code Red. Where's the Code Red? The cherry blasted Mountain Dew that I grew up and loved. If you don't have that there, where's my childhood? My childhood is completely gone. So yeah, if I were to choose a favorite, most likely Mountain Dew Code Red, just because I remember loving that as a kid. I still love it now whenever I can get my hands on it, but ever since they took it out of the Taco Bell line, it's just really pissed me off. One day you end up going up there, and I like a Mountain Dew Code Red. Oh, sorry, we don't have Mountain Dew Code Red anymore. You what? You don't have my Mountain Dewy-liciousness? How the hell do you just take a soda off of your line? Why? Was it not selling enough? I mean, I imagine it probably sold just as much as any of that other crap that you've got going there. Anyways, I digress. Talking way too much about freaking soda here. All right, his second question was, who is your favorite actor? And I would probably have to say, even though this is probably going to get a lot of people on my back because it's like, oh, you don't know enough about acting if you say this guy is your favorite actor, because everybody says this guy is their favorite actor. Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp is a king amongst actors, and I will grovel at his feet every time that I see him. And I will honestly say this just straight out, and I know somebody's going to come in and probably give some examples, but I haven't seen Johnny Depp give a bad performance. I've seen Johnny Depp in bad movies, but I've never seen him do a truly bad performance. In fact, in much of the cases where people give an example of him giving a bad performance, I think he's merely working with the material that he's been given. For example, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Given his character did grate on a lot of people's nerves, but I think that was kind of the point, and that's sort of what Tim Burton was going with it. So I can understand where somebody wouldn't like the character that he's playing, but he never didn't portray that character. There's never really a point in time where I've really seen him phone it in, with the exception, I think, of the 2 Pirates of the Caribbean sequels, because honestly, who wouldn't want to phone in those movies? Oh, for Christ's sakes, those are just blasphemies. Those deserve to be erased. You have the first Pirates of the Caribbean, which is a fantastic movie, and then you have Dead Man's Chest and At World's End, which just deserve to be forgotten in some kind of whirlpool of let's just forget the shit out of those movies. His best role, though, one of his best roles is one that I feel a lot of people haven't even heard of or haven't even seen this movie because it's so strange, because everybody says, oh, Johnny Depp always does just weird things with his arms and he goes tripping over stuff, and it seems to me that the people who say that are the same people who have only seen both Pirates of the Caribbean and his Tim Burton work, because Johnny Depp has done a lot more than that. Finding Neverland is one of them. Sure, he still plays an eccentric, but it's a very, very low-key performance, and he really brings a heart and soul to that movie, which, you know, the movie's already filled with heart and soul to begin with. It's about the man who created Peter Pan. But when you see Johnny Depp deliver those lines, I really feel it, especially at the end. He made me cry in that movie. Johnny Depp has made me cry on more than one occasion. When you give him something good and dramatic, he nails it. When you give him something comedic, he nails it. When you give him something insane, he nails it. He is the sort of actor that we need right now. He's kind of like Batman in that sense, I suppose. So yeah, definitely Johnny Depp. There's a few others that I have. I like Harrison Ford a lot, even though I wouldn't consider him my favorite actor. That's one of the ones that comes immediately to the top of my mind. I just like his style. I like his presence, the way he looks, the way he acts, the way his hair moves and everything. He's one of those kinds of guys. If I saw Harrison Ford, even though he would probably tell me to go piss off or whatever, I would try and give him a hug. Johnny Depp, he probably wouldn't give me a hug either, but I still want to give him one. All right, number 3, favorite anime dub. Ooh, this one's a hairy topic, actually. I'll admit, this is one of those weird things. For some reason, I think this comes with having watched a lot of anime in Japanese. For some reason, when I see it in English, oftentimes it just doesn't sound right to me. I used to watch English dubs before I came across the Japanese dubs, so I'm not going to bash them and say, oh, Japanese is always better, rah, rah, rah. No, because with Full Metal Alchemist, I can hardly watch the Japanese dub. Okay, that's a lie. I have watched the Japanese dub, and it's still fairly pleasant. But it isn't like the English, where I've grown to become attached to those characters as they're speaking English. It's part of the reason why when FMA Brotherhood first came on to Hulu or whatever, I had a hard time getting into it, mostly because it was just the Japanese with subtitles, as opposed to hearing the English voices that I had come to know and love. Let me see. A lot of the Hayao Miyazaki movies. Howl's Moving Castle, I actually prefer in English to the Japanese, which I know, blasphemy, right? But Christian Bale as Hal is really good. I fell in love with his voice in that movie, and so it's hard to hear somebody else do that role justice. I think all of the Hayao Miyazaki dubs, for the most part, are all excellent, but my favorite English dub, I would probably say by far, is Full Metal Alchemist. Is the one that immediately comes to mind. Or Cowboy Bebop has a really great dub too, but that's one of those ones. I don't want to choose the Cowboy Bebop dub because it comes to mind. Everybody always says, oh, Cowboy Bebop has the best English dub, and everybody also says Full Metal Alchemist. So FMA by far is the one that comes immediately to mind. Cowboy Bebop also comes to mind, and numerous others Hayao Miyazaki works. And you know what? English dubs, I just want to say this straight out, even though it's not a part of the question. English dubs are fine if they're done well. There are some that I personally don't think are done well that everybody else thinks are done well, and for some reason when I say, oh, I didn't like that dub, I get called a weeaboo and to go die someplace. One of the ones is the Melancholy of Haruhi dub, where if somebody who likes the English dub hears me say that I didn't like the English dub and I didn't feel that it represented the characters very well, they will all of a sudden go on a weird sort of thing where it's just like, oh, you're just saying that because you're a Japanese fanboy or whatever. No, because honestly, there's one English dub that I do like that everybody else hates, and that's Lucky Star. For some reason, those voices represented those characters well enough to me that I could actually watch the show in English and go, yeah, okay, this isn't so bad. I can actually deal with this. With Haruhi, I didn't buy Wendy Lee as Haruhi. I didn't buy whatever his name is. I know this is probably flying off the top of my head, even though he's a very famous actor and I should know his name. I didn't like the guy who did the voice for Kyon, and I most certainly did not like, the voice for Mikuru, although I didn't like the voice for Mikuru in the Japanese either. Mikuru gets on my nerves, that voice, regardless of which language she's speaking in. She's too moe. Somebody needs to slap her and tell you, stop being so freaking moe. I know it's part of the point of the entire show, but it bugs the hell out of me. So yeah, now that I'm done with that little mini rant there, please, please, please don't call me a weeaboo just because I don't like the English dub of Haruhi. It just so happens that I think the Japanese voices are far superior, and if somebody asks me, should I watch Haruhi in English or in Japanese, I'm going to say the Japanese, just because that's my preference of voice actors. I'm sorry. And if somebody were to ask me towards the FMA side of things, though, I would say the English dub. Same thing with a lot of the Hayao Miyazaki movies. Not a weeaboo. I'm trying to defend myself here on that particular point, but I never will because I think I've given up that tagline a long time ago. When you say, the very moment that you say you like something that, like Lucky Star, I think you've kind of given in your man geek card and they've just sort of torn it up for you. Oh, wow, those were 3 very simple questions that I ended up stretching out to a very long time. So, alrighty, look forward to the next Q&A, and I will be signing out from now. Time to go back to Super Street Fighter 4, which is what I should have been doing in the first place. Peace.